Is March 19th. It just turned 5:33 p.m. Good afternoon. We're going to start. If you don't mind, Stephanie, can we do the roll call?
Yes. Commissioner Gates, I know that you are here. Commissioner Flores,
Here.
Commissioner Hardy,
Here.
Commissioner Nemeth. I saw you, but I don't know if I can hear you, Jeff.
Here.
Okay, you are here. All right. And Will, as we said, is abroad, so is unable to join us this evening.
Okay.
So let us move on to the next agenda item.
All right. Next up is to approve the meeting's agenda. We should have received it earlier. Are there any additions or modifications we would like to make for the agenda? Not seeing any changes. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Yeah, thank you. That's one. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jeff. Okay. So the agenda passes. Next item on the agenda is the first opportunity for public comment. And the first opportunity is for agenda items only.
All right, now we are ready for you, Debbie. I'm going to unmute you or ask you to unmute. Sorry, it's being slow. One more attempt. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear? Okay, that was a lot of button pushing there. I don't know what happened.
You did it. You
Thank
did
goodness. Thank goodness for in-person meeting next month. My name is Debbie Marks, longtime vendor at the farmers market. I'm glad that inspections is on the agenda. All new vendors need to be inspected. And after that, any vendor that hasn't been inspected that's been selling at the market should be inspected. Inspections protect our producer only, no buy sell market rule. And again, let's hope this meeting hangs in there all the way through and doesn't black out on me again. And thank you all very much. Have a good meeting.
Thanks, Debbie. All right, we can move on to the next agenda item.
All right. Next up is the minutes from last month's meeting. Does anybody have any changes, additions, or modifications to the minutes from February? Now that I'm hearing none, could I get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Emma. And then a second.
Second.
I heard that.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. And then all in favor say aye or raise your hand. Doing a quick scan of all the cameras.
Yeah, I'm going to abstain because I didn't have any time to read them because I had back-to-back meetings today. So.
Okay.
Welcome, Lisa, as well.
All right. With that vote, all minutes from the previous meeting have been approved. Next item on our agenda this afternoon is going to be moving on to general updates, starting with staffing.
All right. So this is just a really quick update. I just wanted to remind people that Lunia is still on her 2 months off. We'll be returning back to market in the mid to late part of April. And part of a transition that is happening too is that now that Tyler is a little bit more trained on general market processes, he has already started scheduling inspections. So a lot of his staff hours will now be transitioning to that role, in addition to market support. His first inspection is scheduled for next week, but we will talk about that when we get to the, I think, agenda item E a little bit later. But that was all my staffing update. So quick, to the point.
Great. Next up, we have 2026 applications.
All right. So this is a multifaceted agenda item, as you can see. But just to give an overview, the returning vendor deadline has passed. It was March 1st. And outside of a few retirements that we knew about before and a few newer daily vendors that didn't really attend very often last year, we had the vast majority of vendors are returning. I looked into the numbers of what that is earlier today, and that is 69 annual vendors are signed up and submitted their application for this coming season. 32 daily vendors have also submitted. And in terms of daily vendors last year of our roster from before, there's actually 8 daily vendors who did not reapply that have not attended the current season at all. So some of these people were really not that surprising that they were not returning. And then in terms of where we're at in the process is that we are still filling out, filing vendor paperwork and collecting missing and forthcoming licensing. Because for those that know, the food establishment licensing and MDARD licensing always expires at the end of April every year. So even if people's license is current when they applied, we then have to go back and wait for them to get their new license. So we're sort of doing that part too right now. And then all returning vendors should have received confirmation emails that their application is complete or that there was some sort of missing licensing information or the product list was not there that people need to fill in. But by and large, people are all mostly complete with the exception of, outstanding licenses that aren't quite expired yet, but are coming soon to that. So I don't know if anyone had any questions or comments on that returning one. It's pretty much similar to what I said the last time, just a little bit more detail there. So if there's no comments or questions, I will move on to the next piece, which is the new vendors. So this year we are trying out a new setup for our new vendors. In the past, we had done a rolling basis so that anyone could apply at any time. But given our space constraints and other reasons, we have thought we would try out this having a deadline, right? If we have March 1st as the returning vendor deadline, we would have April 1st as the deadline for new vendors. That is coming soon. As of right now, literally as of today, we have received 56 applications for 2026 for new folks. And I definitely anticipate more coming in as the deadline approaches because we've had an uptick in the last few days with more applications coming in. There was sort of a lull early March, but now it is picked back up again. So there's a lot coming in still. So that as of right now, we're I think 11 less than last year. All told, before last year we had to pull the plug because we had too many. We're clearly going to be in that same boat. And then the other thing I wanted to remind people is in February, we had already accepted 9 new daily status vendors and 2 mobile food vendors. And within that group, one of those is one daily is a Wednesday only and 1 mobile food vendor is a Wednesday only vendor. The rest are planning on doing Saturday and Wednesday or just Saturday. And this first group, this was the highest quality vendors of the first batch we received that market staff came to consensus on. And actually 3 of these brand new vendors are starting this Saturday. And 2 more are coming on April 4th. And the rest of the folks will join us in May when the main season starts. And in addition to that, we are still assessing new applications. As I said, we've received a whole bunch since mid-February, and we will be issuing acceptances and rejections after the April 1st deadline. And with that new group, obviously, they will have an orientation with me before they will be able to start for the year. So that is where we are at right now with our new vendors. Do you have any questions, or comments about that?
What kind of proportion of vendors were accepted or applying? Like farms or prepared goods and things like that?
It's always all baked goods. I mean, 100% of the time. That's not what we accepted, but that is really by far the highest volume of what we receive. With the close second with artisan non-food items. This year, I want to say, as of right now, we've maybe had 5 farms apply, but 2 of those were not produce. One was honey and beeswax products, the other is meat. And then I think one of the other ones is microgreens. Whether you would consider that a farm or not depends on your perspective. But yes, in terms of fresh produce, that was pretty much it out of the 56.
Okay.
And I would say probably 75% baked goods and or cottage food of some kind. And that's just the way that, it shakes out. So with those, that's why we're being, very cautious, that we don't want to overcommit. We don't want to oversaturate. So that's another reason why it takes us a lot longer to fully vet people. But yeah, great question.
Thanks.
Any other questions about that? All right. And I'll give you another update, of course, next month when we have a little bit more information about the full picture. All right, so the next one is our food truck rallies. At this point, we have only accepted our returning vendors, and the max as of right now is about 10 to 11 businesses per event, and that's a mix of food trucks, food carts, and pop-ups. And we're in a little bit of a holding pattern now in accepting a couple of our new vendor applications that we wanted to include or that we think are interesting or have potential. But we need to know a little bit more about upcoming construction surrounding the market before we're able to definitively make that choice. But we have confirmed and communicated with all of the returning people. But we don't want to overcommit if we end up having reduced access to our parking lot. And more info will be coming about that in Remy's presentation a little bit later in agenda item E. But we still have, again, like our regular vendors, we have more interest than we have space to accommodate for food trucks. Any questions or comments on that? Okay. So the next one is our musicians and community groups. As of right now, we have confirmed participation of 10 community groups so far, meaning people have given us applications, we have spoken with them, we've scheduled them, they're on the market calendar, and we still have other inquiries coming in. This is everything from, the library coming to the Border to Border Trail. Waterloo Extension wants to come, Michigan Farm Link. It's a really big mixed bag of community groups that we have coming. The majority of them are on Wednesdays, but we do allow on Saturdays this time of year, or we already had one in February if people are interested. And then that one, we do not have a deadline. Similar to musicians, this is a rolling basis that we take applications for this. And Jade and I have been vetting these as well as coordinating with musicians, where there is also an application. And as of right now, we have live music booked for 2 of the food truck rallies. And then Jade and I have been sifting through. There's additional 5 musician applications that we have received, which we are, talking to them and, seeing if that is something that we want to have, and if so, what the schedule is, etc. And then the last musician piece I have is that I just got confirmation from the Ann Arbor Symphony Orchestra yesterday that they will be returning again for their annual concert program, which includes 1 Wednesday performance and 1 Saturday performance. And for folks that were aware of this in the last 2 years, their SNAP EBT free ticket program will also be returning in the late summer. So that is, if you have a bridge card, you come into the office, when you're swiping your card, we hand you free tickets to the Ann Arbor Symphony Orchestra. Each participant gets up to 4 tickets. So it's a really great program. People love it. And this is, I think, the 3rd year, if not more, maybe 4th, that we've done it. And that is all my updates on there. Does anyone have any questions or need for clarification? All right. And last thing I would just say about musicians, we know that this is something that's complex because there are a lot of vendors that, don't necessarily want loud music near them. And we definitely try to balance the style of music with where they'll be located or where they're performing. And that's another reason why it takes us a little bit longer to assess the musicians too, because we're very cognizant of all of this. But then there's others who want music because they think it draws more people. So it's that balance that we're trying to strike.
Cool. If there's nothing else about the 2026 applications, we're going to move on to agenda item C, which is logos to civic rec transition.
Thanks. So this one is going well. As far as we can tell, we've pretty much been using this since the end of January for our market day transactions. We have fully transitioned into the new cash out process, which is how we process the money coming into us on market days, whether that is through vendor rent or whether that is through credit card and EBT transactions for patrons. But the next one is the vendor invoicing process. So as many of you know, the vendor invoicing deadline for returning vendors is annual vendors have to pay us for their stall fees and parking fees by June 30th. So the next step within Logos is that we've already created accounts for all vendors, but next we will be going through the invoicing, and it will be sort of similar to what people experienced before, but with a few key changes. One is that you will certainly be able to pay online. I know some people have had an easy time with this before. Other people have had a struggle with this before. So that is something that should be universally available. However, you can still pay like you always have paid to us in person at market. You can pay cash, you can pay card, you can pay mobile pay, check, anything that you could have done before, you can still do, but there's just this additional thing. And the last part about why this is beneficial is in the past, if there was an edit needed, so for example, if someone wanted a second parking space instead of the first that they were charged, we couldn't personally change that invoice. We would have to reach out to the finance department and then they would have to fix it. And then it would have to go back and forth a little bit before it would actually be a corrected invoice, and it would delay when people could pay. But that does not happen anymore. Now we can fix it all in real time. We can edit it ourselves. So we're hoping that this would streamline the process. The only downside is I don't think that people can pay any longer at customer service at City Hall. I know there weren't that many people that used that option, but there were at least a few. But hopefully those folks that needed it in person to make sure that they beat the deadline can now pay online, or again, just coordinate with market staff on market days. And that's pretty much the gist of my update for that. I don't know if there's any feedback for that. All right, well, we're moving.
Looks like it's good. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. We're moving quick. All right.
All right.
Yes.
Now
All
we're
right.
getting to the meat and potatoes. We're going to get to inspections next.
Yes. And Tyler is actually here. I don't know, Tyler, if you wanted to give a few words about your inspection process. Sorry to put you on the spot with
No,
that.
that's okay.
Yeah.
No, not a problem. And yeah, I'm pretty sure I've met most of you, or if not all of you, at least virtually before. As you all know, I am a relatively new staff member, and I'm also going to be doing inspections. Spend a couple months kind of learning the ropes, learning the ins and outs of the market, as well as some of the software that we use. And starting next week, I'm going to officially start doing some of my inspections. I know, as Stephanie mentioned, we do have a ton of new applicants, several of which have got approved already. So I am going to start there and then to kind of work my way back. And so far, fortunately, everybody who I've contacted so far has been very easygoing, been very easy to work out the logistical dates. And yeah, I look forward to meeting these people in person and seeing what they have.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Tyler. Does anyone have any questions for him? All right. And yeah, pretty much.
I guess I was going to say,
go
like,
ahead.
what are you inspecting when you're inspecting the different places?
Yeah,
Like,
good
just
question.
meeting them, or like, yeah, what does it look like?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good question. So I'm looking at several factors that they have both in writing and what we expect them to have, whether they're growing certain things, whether they're making certain cottage food items. And my goal at the end of the day is just to make sure they're doing what they say they are, whether, let's say, if somebody says that they're growing these various fruits and vegetables, that they're actually growing them on the property that they told us about instead of importing them and then, just slapping a label on it. And yeah, just making sure that they're following the guidelines that we have previously made.
Cool, thanks.
Awesome, thanks. Anyone else? All right. So there you go. It's another quick one. But thanks,
All right.
Tyler, for giving us that feedback or in that context.
Next up, we have facility and repairs.
All right. So I was just going to give Remy the floor for this one, if that's okay, Remy.
Yeah, absolutely. Mine will not be quick. Brace yourself.
Well, I guess it's good then that we breeze through those others. So go ahead.
I am not the most familiar face, and for how much I work on market related things on a weekly basis, that's a shame and really my fault. So I'm sorry to you all that I'm not here more frequently and able to engage with you directly. But glad to be here tonight to share some updates. For those that don't know me, my name is Remy Long. I'm one of the deputy managers of Ann Arbor Parks and Recreation. I oversee several different efforts within the Parks Department, and one of the areas I get to support is the farmers market and Stephanie and her team. So I've been digging into some of the more complex and constantly evolving and moving um, facets of the market, some of which are wholly within our control and others are less so. So I want to give you an update on what those are. So I'm going to start with the more complex issues at hand today. Some of them I know you've been aware of for a while, and have been waiting for updates patiently. So I'm here to provide those, and that's about the surrounding construction at 303 Detroit, south of the market, and the construction at Braun Court. So I'm going to cover 303 first. Just to orient us all, I will share my screen.
Are you able to do it, or do you need me to give you permission?
I've got it, I believe. I'll give it a minute to
Yep,
load.
yep, I see it. Perfect.
Cool. Okay, so just to orient everyone to this conversation, 303 Detroit is south of the market, and it is currently approved for a redevelopment project from commercial to residential. And then you have Braun Court at 325, and that is also been approved for redevelopment for residential. And so I have been speaking with many city staff, city planning staff, engineering staff, parks leadership, etc., for quite a while. Certainly on 303, I've been actively involved in discussions around that project for quite some time. And so, where things stand after extensive, and I would characterize it a bit further and call it exhaustive discussions with the developer and city staff, Parks has come to the difficult decision or conclusion that it makes sense to allow the redevelopment at 303 to temporarily utilize a small portion of the farmers market footprint for construction staging. So we would be issuing them a temporary license agreement to occupy a space. And what that space looks like, I will also bring up. Can you all see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep.
Excellent. So, as you know, based on this aerial imagery, it's outdated. There is no longer an office building right here at the south end of the market. But we are looking to license the use of this blue rectangle here at the southeast corner, or sorry, southwest corner of the market. Currently, the storage trailer, as you all know, is actually sited here, just north of that blue area. And then the gap between the end of this stall and the beginning of this staging area is 18 feet for reference. This staging area does not impact parking at the farmers market. So we have maintained all the existing parking. But what this really came down to was a decision between possibly closing Fourth for an extended period of time or creating barriers in Fourth that posed serious traffic circulation issues in and around the market, or opting to utilize the small part of this market footprint that isn't, even though these words are difficult to say, absolutely essential to the function and operations of the market. So I can't stress enough how many conversations were had before and alternatives were explored before arriving at this conclusion. But again, I do feel it was an exhaustive discussion. So we are proceeding with this license agreement. It is not signed yet by either party, but I expect that to be done in the coming weeks. And then shortly thereafter, I would expect the fencing to go up, and the fencing would run along the perimeter south of the market stalls. Again, the fencing would follow their property boundary here and then cut north and follow the curb just in front of the parking to here. And so in this area, we are expecting that they are going to deliver and store materials for their project. The fencing would, the agreement that we are signing with the developer would require that the fencing is 8 feet tall and it has an opaque barrier so that folks are not able to see into this area. We've also made sure that we retained the ability to put any informational or decorative or artistic banners on the outside of it to minimize its, let's say, ugliness. And that is where we are at with 303 Detroit. Before I move on to Braun Court, I'm happy to answer any questions I can about this.
I had one.
Oh,
go ahead,
Marcus.
Lisa. No, go ahead, Lisa.
Remy, I just want to say thanks. I can only imagine how exhaustive this was. I just want to reiterate, so this is for material storage, so it's not going to be like there's a crane in that area worrying about the safety of the market and things like that.
There is potential for a crane. There would be a separate crane license agreement that is reviewed and approved by the city. And in that process, we would have the chance to provide feedback as well. And all of the crane materials and movement, to my understanding, would be facing, the boom would be facing directionally south, because they would be moving materials back and forth north-south rather than moving the boom over the market for any reason, because there's no reason to move it over it for the picking up of any materials if the crane is located in that staging area. So the city engineering staff or the city staff responsible for reviewing crane agreements are very aware of all of the dynamics at play, including the market, of course. And so we would have a chance to weigh in on that before the crane license agreement was issued.
Okay, and this builder has not been a very respectful neighbor, as we know. So I am also hopeful that since the market is doing them this favor and City Parks is doing them this favor, that they can also be a better neighbor on Saturdays and Wednesdays when market is in operation.
I understand. I understand.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Marcus.
Quick follow-up. Can you say again the rough timeline of when we expect fencing to go up? And then also, if there were to be crane usage in there, what timeline we would expect that to happen?
The timeline for the fencing to go up and begin usage, I would anticipate is within the month, if I had to
Okay.
guess. The license agreement has been routed for signatures, but so depending on how long that takes or if there's any hangups at the last minute, I don't know. But in general, I'm going to anticipate within the month. I'm going to try and let Stephanie know as soon as I know it's finalized and inked so that we can expect to send word out that in the coming days, if not right away, they're going to be putting up their fencing. I do not have a sense for when a crane license agreement would be reviewed or requested as it relates to this project. I think you've all seen that they've been busy at work inside and trying to get there. So I would assume that it would be this calendar year and probably earlier in the summer rather than later if they're going to move in that direction.
Okay. Thank you, Remy.
Yep.
And just to clarify, that might not actually happen, right? That part is still more of a question mark. I just wanted to clarify with folks.
Yes.
Whereas the fencing, that's a definite.
Yep. And just to be clear, the deliveries for the staging area come off of 4th. They do not enter the market lot and enter the staging area from the market. They enter from 4th and exit on 4th. I just want to be very clear because I don't have a mock-up of gates for this.
Thanks, that's helpful.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that's one people were more aware of. So, but that extra context is definitely helpful.
The next and related and interconnected, and one of the reasons why in exploring alternatives for the 303 project, we ended up landing on issuing the license agreement is here we are now talking about Braun Court's redevelopment. So the development at Braun Court is expected to advance in the coming months. I don't have any definitive timeline. I am very closely in touch with city staff that can keep me apprised of that timeline. And I'm keeping close tabs on its progression through the internal processes to try and understand the full scope of its potential impacts. What I can share right now is that the project includes a replacement of the water main running under 4th. The exact extent of the replacement is still being determined, but the plans I've seen run from Catherine to the northern boundary of Braun Court. So if you're looking at this map or this slide, that's what I've tried to mock up here is the extent of the water main replacement that I've seen in construction and design drawings. They are tentative, but that's what I understand now. So the current projection is that the water main replacement will require the full closure of 4th from Catherine to that northern extent of Braun Court's parcel, and that the closure for the water main replacement would take 8 weeks. I want you all to know that I have communicated emphatically to my colleagues in all of the spaces within the city that the farmers market is an essential public service. We have established that in this community. And that at a minimum, we need to find a way to keep one of the access drives to the market lot open at all times during the water main replacement. I'm speaking specifically about the challenges with the water main replacement. My understanding is that there may also be a long-term partial closure of the west side of 4th, similar to what was done at 121 Catherine for their construction staging. That we will weather and handle as we have been. It will pose challenges, undoubtedly, but more so, the more imminent and the more pressing challenge is the water main replacement and its relative impacts to the access to the market lot. So I've met with city planning staff, city engineering staff, and others about this, and they do understand the importance of access to the market lot, and we are aligned on those goals. I cannot sit here today and promise you anything, but we are working through it. Nothing is definitive yet. It is still under review. The construction plans, I believe, are still under review, and I am doing all I can to stay up to date and work with the city staff who are helping influence, ideally, the outcomes here to our benefit. Any questions?
I just want to say thanks again for watching out for the market. And so, Remy, it sounds like the water main replacement will happen before the rest of the demo happens with the Broncourt buildings and things like that. So is this going to be staged, or is this going to be chaos all at once?
I believe it could be, there could be simultaneous elements of
Okay.
demolition and water main replacement. I believe I've heard that in conversation. I think that that's tricky operationally for them, let alone us, but I think that that's a possibility.
Especially now that people are living in Dunbar Tower too.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
and that access to the parking lot back there is also going to be tricky. So, okay.
Yeah.
Oi.
I appreciate the opportunity to come and share this with you. I can't express to you how grateful I am to be able to call Stephanie at a moment's notice during these fluid conversations about the potential impacts, whether it be at 303 or Broncourt. Stephanie has been instrumental in advising on the full scope of potential impacts and ramifications, unintended consequences of any decision that's being explored or alternative that's being explored. So I've relied on Stephanie a lot, and I really appreciate how deep of an understanding she has about the prospective impacts to your all operation. And I can just say she has brought forth every step of the way the information I need to best advise others in the city throughout these conversations.
Thanks, Jeremy. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay. If there are no more questions, I will move on to something a little
bit sunnier.
A little sunnier. That's also fun and also part of my job, right?
Yes.
All right. So I will stop sharing the screen now. Okay. Right now, as if we were just discussing, we clearly have a unique set of challenges in and around the farmers market. From the demolition of the office building to the stall repairs to surrounding construction. It's a very distinct moment in market history. So while all that disruption could reasonably push us to expedite solutions, I do feel the Parks Department is in a strong position and has a strong commitment to instead be very intentional with how we approach any of the next steps at the market, given this inflection point that we're at. And we felt that the next right step was intentional engagement with the market vendors, with market staff, with PMAC, with market patrons, stakeholders like Carytown and the DDA, and really the entire and wider Ann Arbor community. With that, the idea is to dig into the needs and wants for the farmers market into the future. There's all this disruption, there's all these challenges. And at the end of the day, when we are sitting here 5 years from now and the dust has settled, let's say 5 years, just to be optimistic, right? When the dust has settled, what are we looking at in terms of meeting the needs and wants of this community in this space? We have seen conversations go too quickly right into design processes and missed opportunities for deep engagement with the folks that rely on and value this space within the community. So the goal is to secure a consultant who will lead the city's engagement and visioning efforts, coordinate stakeholder conversations, facilitate meetings, and ultimately summarize all their findings in a report. So on February 20th, the city issued RFP number 2618, requesting proposals from firms to support an engagement and visioning process for the farmers market. The report will ultimately, after many, many months of collecting feedback and having interviews and meetings and focus groups, will ultimately provide options for what the future design and capital improvements at the market could look like. So depending on what input is received, we're asking the firm that's eventually selected to develop 3 to 5 options to put in their report, outline the costs and benefits of any of those options. And in all, we're hoping for this process to run for a bit over a year. In the end, I'm hoping that by August of 2027, we have a report in hand that outlines the options for the future of the market based on deep engagement with all of the folks tied to the market. So after we receive submissions, the proposals are due by April 8th at 2 p.m. Eastern. After we receive submissions, we will form a selection committee and convene to evaluate and score the proposals. I'm anticipating a lot of interest from firms. So far, I've received a great deal of emails and calls about this RFP since it went live. There seems to be quite a lot of interest. I would say actually kind of an exceptional amount of interest in this RFP so far. So we will convene to evaluate and score proposals in April. And depending on whether or not we choose to move forward with interviews with any firms, that's an option, not a necessity. We could have a firm selected by the end of April, and I would anticipate certainly in May. And then subsequent, go to City Council for authorization to move ahead with that selected firm. And then we would expect them to be out there in the mix, collecting feedback, collecting input this summer, undoubtedly. You specifically, PMAC, can expect engagement from whatever firm is selected, and I wanted you to understand that as well, that I'll be heavily involved with facilitating the overall process with whatever contract is developed with the firm. I'll be part of the selection committee, as will Stephanie and some others. But once the firm is selected and brought in, you are one of the first groups that I would have them meet with. Any questions?
That's great that it seems like now that it is happening, the timeline is actually quite fast as far as the RFP going out and then them getting to work, hopefully. So that's great.
Yeah. And that's been a question from the RFP does define that we're seeking a 12-month process, but it's not required to remain that. It's going to be partially what we find throughout the process will define the timeline, but at the same time, the longer we extend it, the longer we are from any subsequent design and engineering RFP and then subsequent implementation of those improvements. So we're trying to keep a reasonable pace, but also leave the right amount of time to get the actual engagement we want to do at the depth we want to do it done.
Great. Anyone else?
Just gonna say I'm so glad it's finally moving forward. Sorry, I'm gonna be off of PMAC by the time it happens.
I apologize for the delays, truly. These types of RFPs are typically run by our park planners within the department, and both have been so overwhelmed with a wide variety of demanding projects that this one was not moving as fast as it should, and eventually it just became a matter of I took it over and I ran the RFP. I ended up taking the lead myself on this RFP, so I'm glad it's in motion, but do apologize that it's taken this long.
Thanks, Remy.
Yep.
All right. So that was a lot of info. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. I know it answered many questions that people have had for a long time. So it's helpful. Does anyone else have any last ones? I did just have 2 more neighboring construction updates that are also very positive to add on if people don't have any other questions or any or comments. Well, one is, as you know, Dunbar Tower residents are moving in. It's super exciting. The fences are down. It's fantastic. We've already partnered with Avalon, and I think I might have mentioned this before. We're doing a promotion where we gave vouchers to all the residents, or maybe I haven't told you guys this. I don't know how quickly the timeline moved, but we created a voucher where new Dunbar Tower residents can come to the market office. We give them a $5 market token, a regular credit card token for them to spend. We are also looking to do more long-term outreach with folks on food assistance so that they know that they can use their benefit at market. But the Avalon folks want us to hold off until everyone's moved in before we actually have a community meeting and we can go speak to folks. But right now we're creating flyers in multiple accessible languages. And I did also ask them which languages were needed in addition to the usual ones we do. And that is in process also. So that's all great news. And we've already had at least one person come to get their market token from Dunbar. So it's awesome. We're really excited. And then another sort of good news is that the 330 Detroit Street, the fences are also down over there, and 5th is fully back open. Although with that one, it's not as close to completion, but they're doing exclusively indoor stuff right now. And it's been reduced a lot, although, still some construction, parking headaches, but at least the road is back open on that side too. So that's a big piece of progress, but they still say it's probably 6 to 8 months out on being 100% complete on that one. But that was my more positive ending to all of the negative, because we have to take it all together.
I love that partnering with Dunbar Tower. That's really wonderful. What a nice way to say welcome to the neighborhood.
Yes, and it's a 2-parter. The first of it is I had reached out to them from the beginning to want to work with them with food assistance. But Grace Singleton, KDA president, said, "Hey, I want to put together a welcome basket for the residents from businesses in Carytown." And I was like, "Oh, this is what we're going to donate." So that was our piece of that overall welcome. And I think it complements what we were already doing with the food assistance.
Very cool.
Thanks. And that is all I have in the neighboring construction updates. So we kind of combined it with the facility and repairs. So just think of that as a E and F became one agenda item.
Cool. Next up is if we have any new business or non-agenda items.
I have one, but I don't know if anyone else had a burning one first. Mine's pretty quick.
Mine's also quick. I reapplied for my next term on PMAC,
Awesome.
so I submitted that paperwork.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Wonderful. All right. And for me, unfortunately, we're going to have to cancel the June PMAC meeting. I will be out of the country visiting family with my dad, who is currently experiencing health challenges. So it was a situation where, we got to go now if we're going to go. So sorry about that, but I did want to let people know in advance that unfortunately the dates I'm gone correspond with the June meeting.
Oh, and is the May meeting in person? Debbie mentioned that at the beginning.
I think it's April.
Well, last
Or
time we
April.
had said
What
we
month
were
is it
going
right
to.
now?
Well, I thought we were
It's
going to
April.
table it till this meeting because people weren't sure because there weren't enough folks here last week.
Okay.
But
Because I
think
wasn't here last time. Yeah.
right. And I think that's why we were like inkling that it was going to be April, but I think we were going to wait to ask everybody. So, is it April? Do people want to meet in person next month?
I think I remember Carlene saying that May did not work for her, so I'd really like to push for April.
April works for me.
Right.
Let's do it.
All right. So April. So yeah, I will coordinate with the clerk to see what spaces are available to us, and I will let you know. Okay, any other new business?
And my one other thing is, I'm sorry to not have gotten the minutes read, but they didn't come out until like 6 hours before the meeting, and I had back-to-back meetings today. So
yeah, that's okay. I've just been really swamped, and I sent them to the vendors, but then I realized I had not sent them to you all. So sorry about that. Carlene is the only one that got them with, and Jeff are the only ones that got them with enough time. So apologies. All right. So if there's no other new business, I do see a hand for the public comment. So I see 2 hands. All right. Go ahead. I think that's you, Carlene.
Hello. This is
Hello.
Carlene. Hi. I've been listening. I guess 4th Street being torn up for the water line is really worrisome for me.
Yes.
And I don't know if there's anything they can do as far as timing that, but if they could do it like next year, March, April, since it's 8 weeks, not 15 weeks, that would be helpful for all, because we get in starting in May through all the way till Christmas. We have big trucks, and that's going to be a real deal. Not good.
Yep. Yes. We are all aware and agree with your sentiments. All right. And yeah, we're still, as I said, Remy, and as he said, Remy has been tirelessly trying to advocate on our behalf, and more information coming soon. It is not ideal, but given the fact that none of this is finalized, it could be later than their projected thing, hopefully. All right. So we're going to move on to Debbie. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. I just wanted to thank Remy for guiding this market renewal project forward. Lisa knows we've been working decades for this. This is really good news. And Tyler, I'm so glad to see you doing the very important inspection work. That's very essential to our market. And just thank you all for your valuable time that you've given to this committee. Thank you all very much, and see you at the market.
Thanks, Debbie. Well, there's nobody else that wants to provide a comment. So I think that brings us to adjournment. Marcus, if you want to do the honors.
Yes.
So it's 6:28.
Okay. I forgot this part. Yeah.
That's okay.
So we are going to move to adjournment. It is 6:28 p.m.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. See you at the market. We could talk more in person on Saturday. I'm sure you'll have questions.
It was
Bye.
good to see you all.
Thanks.
Good to see you.
Bye-bye.
Really
Thanks,
good to see
Remy.
Thank you, Remy.
Take care.